Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Castanerio, and I'm the Director of Recruitment here for Willamette University's MBA programs. And I'm about to share my screen and welcome everybody. And if you're here for the Willamette MBA webinar, you're in the right place. And I just want to let everybody know that we are going to be recording this session. There'll be some Q&A a couple times. So if you have any questions, you'll be able to send them through the chat, and we can answer those there as well. And my name again is Tony Castanerio. Nate Nagy, he's one of our assistant recruiters, is not going to be joining us tonight. He actually has class in our MBA for Professionals program. But Marlene Nicasio is here, and she's also one of our assistant directors of recruitment. And I'm going to get to a couple introductions for everyone, and then I may do some introductions of our panelists here. But tonight, Professor Jake Hoskins is going to be talking to us about the role of the MBA in the age of AI disruption. This is going to be a fantastic topic. I know we have some international applicants that have signed up and are really eager to see this because the question from a lot of people is, is the MBA still relevant? What should I do if I'm interested in data science or the tech field? Is that MBA still going to help me? So this is really relevant to those types of conversations that have been going on. So we'll have you guys kind of mute your go ahead and mute yourself while the topic's going on. And Jake, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let you kind of kick this off.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you everyone for taking the time to join tonight. I look forward to sharing a few thoughts on this topic. I do think it's a really relevant one, one that many of my faculty colleagues and faculty at various universities are talking about, discussing in great detail, and of course folks in industry and prospective students and current students really have it top of mind. So I hope that there's a kind of fruitful discussion to follow. I look forward to hearing everyone else's thoughts, and I'll just share kind of really what I think is a conversation starter more than anything. So with that, I'll open up a few slides that will guide the presentation. As I do so, I will provide a little bit more context, especially for those who don't know me or my background. I did have a unique experience in that after being in academia, getting a PhD, working as a faculty member, I did dive into industry for a bit while data science was really burgeoning, and had a chance to work as a data scientist. So after kind of being in academic research, being a faculty member, I then worked as a data scientist, kind of applying research skills in an industry setting, and then had a chance to come back to Willamette University and be part of our growing programming and analytics and data science within the business school and in partner areas on campus. And so I've kind of straddled these areas, so that kind of gives you a little bit of context as well. So let's jump into it and kind of get an idea of really what this is about. So it's something that we'll see, over and over again if you pay attention. And one thing I do is I passively watch, various news outlets of interest, and just kind of get an idea of kind of pulse of what are hot topics, what are things that are of interest. And this is clearly one of them, right? It would be hard to ignore the rapid developments in artificial intelligence, how much this is changing the game in terms of what organizations can do and what individuals can do. I mean, many of us have had a chance to sort of, learn how to do these tools in real time, whether or not we're very technical or not. And so these are just kind of a handful of different, taglines that are out there. And one of the things that you see that's really common is this sort of proclamation or claim or concern that a lot of these technologies has the potential to sort of displace a lot of workers, and in particular displace a lot of white collar or skilled workers, maybe those with even graduate degrees, whether they be MBAs or other types of graduate degrees. And so that's definitely a prediction that's out there. So let's kind of think about that and what it means a little bit. We have this quote from Elon Musk in the midst of all this. I think we are seeing the most disruptive force in history. We will have something that for the first time is smarter than the smartest human. There will come a point where no job is needed. And of course, that's quite a strong claim, right? And that's speaking about AI. Maybe that's a little bit too far, but it does sort of beg a certain question. What role do humans have in the process of critical thinking, of adding insight, of adding creativity? These are a lot of the things that have been thought about as kind of higher level tasks. So let's kind of dive into that in particular a little bit and ask this question: which types of workers may be left behind, and which ones may adapt and thrive? So let's scale this back a little bit and see what's maybe not a tagline prediction. Coming from Goldman Sachs, generative AI will impact 300 million full-time jobs worldwide. Okay, this is a pretty strong prediction, but it's measured. It's not going to hit everybody, but it's going to hit a lot of people. McKinsey, 30% of hours worked in the USA will be automated, speaking about by generated AI, by 2030. So take everything that's being done today, 30% of hours worked. So what does that mean? Maybe that means the typical person who is working 40 hours a week is now automating 15 hours of tasks and only works 25 hours. I guess that could be one outcome. It could be that 1/3 of workers are no longer needed and the other 2/3 are. It could be that you're automating things and now there's time to do new work. It's not quite clear what's being predicted there, but clearly there's a reallocation that's being predicted in a relatively short time frame that's quite substantial. But what you do have coming out of all these reports is this idea that human judgment will still play a major role. So this prediction coming from us that, hey, AI is going to be smarter than humans, humans don't matter. This is not commonly accepted among a lot of other analysts. I think that there's a reason to push back on this to some degree, because there are some things, at least in this point in time, that it appears humans still have an important role in the process. In most capacities, generative AI is being seen as a quote productivity enhancing tool as opposed to a complete replacement. And you can kind of dive in and get a lot of cases here. And I heard one recently in the legal field. Highly qualified lawyer who's found that generative AI is able to take care of a lot of sort of repetitive tasks that are done case by case. They can actually figure out how many hours that they don't have to bill anymore as a result of this, or work, with which is really sort of a little bit of grunt labor. They can kind of remove that out and focus on other things, and that's what's being seen there. And I think in all of this, it's important to come back and think from the organizational viewpoint about just two big ideas, two E's: efficiency and effectiveness. And efficiency being, is it done fast? And effectiveness, is it done well? And the way to think about this is that if you hold effectiveness constant, like if I could do it just as well, clearly I want to be more efficient. And in some cases, I may be willing to give up some effectiveness for efficiency. I may have a trade-off here. And if you think about what is AI really promising, it's not necessarily promising more effectiveness in most cases. In general, it seems to be promising a lot more efficiency while minimizing effectiveness loss. And that might be a way, kind of a lens of thinking about which areas are more likely to be impacted or altered in a rapid time frame. I think, and many others seem to think, that effectiveness loss will be higher where judgment, creativity, critical thinking are required. A lot of these kind of soft skills and human skills. I think that there's something here that that sticks out. We know this. We know AI is good at these types of things. Once there's a roadmap, we've already done something, and we know sort of what to expect from an outcome, AI can learn how to repeat that task a lot more efficiently. So if there's some pretty solid set of rules and frameworks, AI can come in and say, oh, I can do that, and kind of learn it and calculate it fast. It also seems to be a lot more comfortable when there's a lot more information. Data is vast. A lot of the tasks that work with lots of data, that work with repetition, have recently been high-skill job functions, and they've been really technical tasks. Things like writing code, things like identifying outliers in data, a lot of data science-y type tasks. These ones are the types of high-skill job functions that actually appear a little bit more vulnerable because these are a little bit more repetitive and working with more data in isolation. And I say that distinctly, in isolation. You could be doing a lot of technical tasks or working in a technical field, but applying a lot of higher level analytical capability or creative problem solving. And that might not be something AI is quite as good at. Let's give a couple cases for context here, and then that will be pretty close to the end of what I want to get through before we get a chance for Q&A. And so let's go through one use case. That's a big one, screening resumes. This is a business case. Let's say you have an entry-level job, and organization knows they're going to attract a lot of applicants, and you say, hey, maybe AI is going to be able to screen resumes for job criteria. Maybe the humans role is thinking about what those criteria are. Or maybe humans role is also what candidates should be considered despite not quote unquote fitting the criteria. And then when you get to finalists, what sort of soft factors are going to be looked at to actually make that final selection. So you can kind of think of an interplay here where both actors are actually really important to increase the overall effectiveness of the process and efficiency of the process, and get the best outcome overall. Another use case, creating ads. It turns out that there's really great tools that allow you to efficiently create ads, so you don't have to necessarily hire people to write ads if you are an organization that wants to do some marketing, do some advertising, and AI can actually generate ads from, you just give them some ideas and it generates stuff. And so it can create what's called ad candidates. So you can say, I want something about this topic, and my brand is something related to these things. Write me some ads, tell me some ideas. And then so then maybe in this process, the human's role would be to look at those ad candidates and have some process to actually select the ones that are best. Maybe AI is more of the ideation, and maybe humans' role is more of the selection process. And you can kind of go through this and think about it in a lot of detail. And you can sort of understand how an organization can look at AI as a way to interplay with humans successfully to create organizational value. And that means that if you're just doing technical work, you might be a little bit more impacted from my vantage point. But if you have general skills that you get out of an MBA, critical thinking, ability to see big picture, cross-functional knowledge, all of a sudden, you might have an important interplaying role with AI to make the overall process more effective and efficient. And I think that that's reflected in what you get. Fortune 1000 execs, it remains the go-to degree. And it's because it's generalized, it's because it allows you to really apply so many general rules, general ideas to a range of situations successfully. Last comment in reflection. If you go back a few decades, leaders had this concern that technological change was increasing. This is actually really big in the 80s. The pace of technological change was increasing, and so organizations are at risk of being left behind. And so, of course, sounds a lot like right now. And the common prediction at that time coming from execs and from academics was organizations needed to be more adaptive. They needed to move faster to keep up with faster pace to survive. And research actually showed the opposite to be true. It turned out that there was benefits for an organization to have what's called dynamic capabilities, to have simple stable routines and processes to deal with situations, and they were able to build sustainable competitive advantages. So you said, like, this is how we make decisions. You could actually apply those general practices to unexpected, turbulent conditions more successfully, rather than trying to update the process every single time, because that would be inefficient. You'd be reinventing the wheel. And I think that there's something akin here in thinking about building your own human capital as being some dynamic capabilities, because you're going to experience substantial change in the employment market if you look forward 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And what's going to have some staying power is really what you should ask yourself when you think about how to invest in yourself, from my vantage point. Thank you.
Awesome, Professor Hoskins. We really appreciate it. So we're going to kind of open the floor here for a few minutes. If anybody has, any questions or want to kind of have a discussion before we kind of bring on our alumni panelists to talk about all those good things about Willamette. But any questions for Jake by anyone?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Dane.
So, the time I was in college, I learned how to use a printing press, which is pretty out. But I was wondering, like, what kind of like, how are you integrating newer AI technologies like into a classroom setting? Like, are there any opportunities to learn like just basic utilization of AI skills, like in conjunction with certain assignments?
Yeah, it's a great question. And
Uh,
I appreciate the anecdote there, right? Because that is the risk, right? To get a little bit too into a certain technology or into a certain technique that can get outdated. I think we do a good job of being balanced, kind of like when I look across faculty and curriculum, in trying to say what stuff is kind of stable and going to have staying power, and what are our principles, and really trying to think about how would those apply, but also trying to freshen up and update over time. And sometimes it comes in the form of electives. We have an elective that's running. Tim Johnson, I believe, is teaching that in the spring right now. That's managing with AI. So there's an entire elective on this topic, right? That's really kind of coming out because it's got so much demand. And then, of course, you go faculty by faculty. People are trying to bring in ways of how can you add this to writing a paper? How can you add this to researching a topic, whatever it may be? That's definitely something I've seen from faculty, and honestly, it's coming from students as well. And that's one thing I do in the classroom is I ask students, how are you going to use this? What are you going to do? And I think the overwhelming perspective is you better have an idea of how you would use this to be more productive, so that you show you're up to date and that you don't get sort of left behind. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to be an AI specialist per se either.
Oh, great question. Go ahead, Dane. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What was the name of the professor teaching that class again?
Just drop it in the chat. Tim Johnson.
Tim Johnson. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's funny. We see a lot of students coming upstairs, and Marley and I, and we hear them talking about using Chat GTP and on their assignments and all the things that they're up to and what they can use it for. So whether it's even resume building, helping them kind of develop their perfect resume and all those good things. So I think the MBA program is going to be just like everybody else. It's how do we recognize the benefits as well as the shortcomings of it. So other questions though that you guys would like to ask Professor Hoskins, and if you don't have a question right now, when we're done with our panelists, we'll still have some time. You guys will still be able to ask some questions, but if you do have one right now, feel free. And if not, go ahead and write down your questions, and we'll get back to them at the end, and we'll just kind of continue on here. Jake, thank you very much. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Give me one sec here. All right, everybody see this? So you should see Professor Hoskins on the screen, and then we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit here, and we can continue on this conversation. And our guest panelists here, we have 3 alums that we brought in. A lot of people along the lines of, hey, how is this MBA relevant in today's world? You know, this topic of AI that's going on. We want to always showcase that we have fantastic alums that came to Willamette. They're utilizing their MBA, and as the world is changing and as the professional world, you know, adapts, they're adapting. And I know that students want to hear from those folks as well. So our first guest speaker tonight is Samyukta Vendrathi. She's an early career change alum from 2017, and she was the Chief Operating Officer at Advanced Health. And she's going to talk a little bit, and they're all going to talk a little bit about, you know, why they chose Willamette University, how they've leveraged their MBA, you know, what they're up to now. And you guys can go ahead and ask them each individually questions, and I'll introduce each panelist as we go. So Samyukta, if you'd like, I can leave up this screen or I can bring it back the other way. It's up to you.
Yeah, this works great, Tony. Thank you for the introduction. And overall, I think this is such a great platform to have available for prospective students. But I am originally from India, and I wanted to pursue a career in finance. And so I picked Willamette University, mainly because I did not have any experience and I was trying to gain knowledge and education in the field of business and finance in specific. And I looked around for programs that were offering an opportunity that was tailored to meet the needs of students or prospective students who did not have prior experience. At the time, I'm sure it's the same now, but I think a lot of the schools were kind of looking for at least 2 years of experience working before they'd even consider you as an applicant. And I think there were a few options, and then I looked at Willamette, and what I really liked about their early career and career change MBA program was that they had quite a few options for experiential learning. So that would be not just theory, but they had a lot of, I think they established quite a few structures that allowed you to gain experience while kind of understanding some of the basics and concepts that would support any specific field within business. And that was what drew me to Willamette University. And so I applied, I got in, and the program was great. The faculty was great, staff was great, and I think it really brought together a lot of diversity in students. And I think a lot of people came from a lot of different countries, cultures, different regions of the US. And I think it really brought a diversity of perspective, opinions, and also experience. A lot of people came into the program with experience. So that was really helpful, and it gave everyone access to a great peer group. Other than that, how the MBA has helped me, first off, the MBA is very, very relevant. And if I were to look back at my career and point to one factor that influenced where I am in my career today, would definitely be the MBA program, because of course there is a lot of basics, concepts, theories within business, but in addition to that, I think the key elements, like Professor Hoskins pointed out, is those aspects that cover critical thinking, analytical thinking, and then it also helps at least for me, it helped me develop independence in thinking. So I did not feel like I needed to know something beforehand in order to get into a field. So a lot of my career, what I've been doing is I'll be put on random projects that I have no experience in or with, and the skills I gained in the MBA program would allow me to independently research, learn as much information as I needed, and just put together a program or model that I had no information on. And I think that ability to move forward with no information or no experience is critical. And when you're able to do that, that really pushes or increases your ability to move up the ladder or move and create value for people you work with or for your target audience or stakeholders. So it's very relevant, and I've really benefited from it. Any questions or specific areas people want me to expand on?
And I'll jump in really quick here too, Samyukta. I mean, we get a lot of applicants that are interested from India, and one of the big questions that we're getting is, hey, you have a non-STEM MBA, and a lot of these students actually already have the technical background behind them. They have, you know, their record in their academic world has been all data analytics and or engineering or whatever it is, and they're like, they want to know, well, you're a non-STEM MBA, is this going to be helpful to me? And obviously, you know, you coming from India, you've probably seen that too from India. You go to Hyderabad and everybody is, you know, it's a tech savvy place over there. And so a lot of Indians are asking that. They're asking me, you know, tell me about your non-STEM MBA and how this was useful. So I think, what would you say to some of those folks?
I think it's not critical to have a STEM MBA. I think a lot of what we learn in, you know, business programs that are, I've never been in a STEM MBA, but from my experience with Willamette, it covers all of the aspects that you would need to know to run a business. So when you're put into a specific role within an organization, I think it really helps you make holistic decisions, build holistic programs. And of course, having technical knowledge, if you are in a role that's tech-based, is very helpful. But having information that supports general business administration, I believe, is kind of the same, regardless of whether it's a STEM-based MBA or a non-STEM-based MBA. One thing I've observed, I work in healthcare, and one thing I've observed is that there are a lot of, let's take, for example, behavioral health providers that really care about their patients, and they do a lot of great work, but all their decisions are made purely based on compassion or the needs of their patients. And then when a lot of those behavioral health providers run a lot of clinics and businesses here in our community, and those typically fail because a lot of the decisions they're making are purely, they don't take into consideration the stakeholders that need to be collaborated with or communicated with. They don't take into consideration financing or the importance of considering financial implications or regulatory implications when making decisions. And so I think having the foundations, regardless of whether it's STEM or non-STEM, is very critical.
Oh, that's great. No, I really appreciate that. And I just want to get that. I know we have a lot of people that aren't able to make it tonight, and they're going to be watching this recording from India. So I wanted to get that perspective. So thank you. Yeah. So Samyukta, that was great. We're going to move on to our next panelist. And if there's any other questions for Samyukta as well at the end, we'll get back to them. So thank you. And our next panelist here is Paimon Jaberi. And Paimon graduated from our early career change program as well in 2018. He's the managing director of strategy and analytics for the Seattle Seahawks. And Paimon, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Paimon actually played football back when I was coaching, but he was very into data analytics, and he was a quant guy. And I want you to, you're going to tell us your story, why you chose Willamette, why the MBA program, how you've leveraged your MBA, and maybe you can touch base too on some of, what you're seeing in the world. Are you guys using AI and all that good stuff? So Paimon, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it over.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Cass. Yeah, going back to my time in Willamette, thinking about, going and making my decision to go and get my MBA. I mean, I did my undergrad at Willamette, played football, and got my degree in economics. And I think it was really at the time I was interested in finance, interested in using my econ degree in the investment space or in a job working in the finance space. But I wasn't very sure I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I didn't feel necessarily that I had the skill set either to go out and get a job that I really wanted to do. And I remember some gentlemen on the football team that were a few years older than me that had done the 3-2 BA MBA program and were in the MBA program when I was on the team with them. And just hearing stories about the things that they were learning, the projects that they were working on, the professors that they got to work with and learn from, and then the jobs that they were getting post grad really kind of piqued my interest and maybe want to learn more about what was going on with the MBA program. And the more and more I learned, the more and more I was intrigued that this would be something that would really help me develop like personally as a professional. And in hindsight, I think I would really look at my experience in getting an MBA as a personal journey of growth. I think I just learned a lot and developed a lot in my 2 years at Willamette, getting my MBA in so many ways that really then prepared me, I think, in a really great way to go out and get a great job right out of school. Samyukta said so many great things that I could not resonate more with. A lot of stuff that she said hit home with me. She mentioned a little bit about experiential learning. I think one of the coolest things that I did in my time at Willamette is we had a venture investing class taught by Rob Wiltbank. And that class was just awesome. We learned so much. The genesis of the course was we had real fund, real dollars and real money to go out and invest in partnership with other angel investors in real companies. And so I got to go through due diligence, learning about different business models, how companies would go to market, what products they would provide, what services they would provide. And I got to learn all of that while in school in a safe environment and getting to learn from really, really smart, very, very smart professors and really smart colleagues. And in a safe environment, I got to develop and grow in a real world sense, which I thought was really, really cool. That amongst other things, I was able to get a lot of great portfolio pieces, things that I could actually like show and or share when going after getting a job that would help me either get an interview or speak to work experience when seeking a job. And things like venture investing and things like my various data science classes that I took where I had these portfolio pieces, projects, analysis that I had done or dashboards I had developed and all kinds of stuff. These experiential learning programs really helped me develop. So, and I would say too, like it was both on the slide here. It was really cool to develop, I would say, my hard skills and have things to speak to that I could actually deliver, whether it be working with data or understanding a financial statement. But also what was really powerful was working on my soft skills, communicating, sharing information, distilling information, which is something I do every day now in my job. I was able to really work on those hard and soft skills. Working with people, working with teams in a professional environment. I can't say enough good things about my experience at Willamette and my MBA and the personal growth and development I went through in my 2 years there. And yeah, now I work in business strategy and analytics for the Seattle Seahawks in professional sports, where our department helps support revenue operations, whether it be ticketing, premium products, sponsorships and corporate partnerships, marketing, digital, community engagement, fan engagement, game day experience, food and beverage, stadium operations. My department supports all of those functions of our company with their strategic process, with data to help inform decision making and process for all of those functions of the company, and analytical recommendations when we're looking to make decisions. And I've been doing that for about 6 years. And yeah, just the topic of AI in general, it's very interesting, and it's been very valuable to me to leverage in the past few years more and more, just from and Professor spoke on this, but just from an efficiency standpoint and process standpoint, I'm able to leverage certain things that would have been manual repetitive tasks and taken me more time to get certain things done. I'm able to leverage certain functions of AI to help me get those things done, and then I can spend more time on substantive work, like really mapping out strategic roadmaps and thinking about and trying to solve like challenging problems, and leading a team and building solutions. Like I'm able to spend more time focusing on that by leveraging functions of AI to better improve my process of workflow with data, whether it be writing code, learning about things, writing in general. It's definitely been a value add, and I think it's a big enhancer to your career. I would say the biggest thing too, this was touched on, is you do definitely, I think where AI can be the most powerful is when you know how to use it, how to frame the questions that you maybe are asking a chat GPT, or how you're distilling the information to fuel the machine to get the output that you're looking for. Knowing what you want and distilling the problem and the framework and the human element of things, like honing on that and working on that, really accelerates your ability to get value from using AI, in my opinion. But yeah, we'd love to answer any questions, and it's great to be here. I love Willamette. I'm up in Seattle now, and I'm looking forward to the next time I get down to Portland and Salem, because I've loved my time there.
That's awesome. Thank you, Paimon. Any questions for Paimon? No, and that's okay. Paimon, thank you. I know that you're on the road and everything. I appreciate you being here, and we'll have some questions for you there at the end. But I think that's especially in your world there, where you guys are dealing with so many different. I mean, you talked about, hey, we're on the food and beverage, we're doing ticketing, we're doing all this. I mean, I'm sure there are definitely some efficiencies that you guys are going to find as you're using AI, but it's still critical that you've got to be able to analyze that stuff, make decisions. So you guys are saying this really well, and I think this is going to resonate with people that there's that MBA is still extremely relevant, still useful. You've got to have those soft skills in order to make your pitch. And so I appreciate you expanding on that. And then we're going to move on to our next panelist. And so we've heard from now 2 early career change alumnus, and now we have, and this webinar is for everyone. So it's for all of our MBA programs. So our next alumnus is Peter Rector, and he graduated from our MBA for Professionals program in 2022, and he's now the Outreach Engagement Coordinator for the Oregon State Treasury. And so you kind of got to hear a little bit about experiential learning courses and kind of taking classes that are really preparing you for the professional world. And now Peter is going to kind of expand on how he found Willamette for the professionals program, and kind of just a different program that we have for all of you that are out there wondering, well, what about the MBA-P program? So Peter, I'm gonna go ahead and let you take it away.
Great, thanks, Cass, and thanks everyone else for your insightful background and sharing your stories about how the MBA program impacted you. Hopefully the folks that are here today have some interest in this program, because I'm here to tell you that it's something that's absolutely worth pursuing, and it's something that's really valuable, that has clearly impacted the two of us that have spoken, and myself too here, all three of us. Why did I choose Willamette? You can see on my slide there kind of a little bit of background. It's hard to distill it in just to like a couple of sentences, but frankly, I knew that Willamette was a really strong school. I'm from Salem, born and raised. I've done a lot of traveling and I've lived abroad a little bit, but I knew that Willamette was a really strong institution. And I knew that I was one of those folks that when the pandemic hit, things really slowed down, especially in my career. And so I knew that this would be an opportunity to go and better myself. So my pandemic project was really taking the time to better myself. And so it was interesting going through that time frame there, virtual classes and in person, then virtual, then back to in person. But in the end, it was totally worth it. I really got a really interesting perspective. You know, I just to share a little bit about my background, I come from a world of finance. So I worked in the banking sector basically my whole career. Out of college, I went to Western Oregon University as my undergrad and graduated in business, minored in Spanish, emphasis in international business. I worked for a bank for about 2 years, and then I worked for a local credit union here in Salem for about a decade. And at the credit union, I started out as a teller and then worked my way up through kind of like the outreach side of things, community outreach. And my journey is a little different in the sense that someone who's classified a millennial, typically they job hop a lot, but I've worked for 3 different institutions since I graduated over a decade ago, well over a decade ago now that I'm thinking about it. And that's because there was a lot of, I was very strategic and mindful about the career choices that I made. And so I took that in the institutions that I wanted to attend as well. And so even though I live in Salem, I chose to do, Willamette has an MBA-P program in Salem and Portland, and I chose to do the Portland one because I had a fairly strong network of individuals that I knew down here in the Salem area, but I wanted to try and expand that network even further. And so by having that opportunity to take classes up in Portland and work with colleagues who work for Intel, Nike, some of these major businesses up there, I now have this network of folks that I can tap into if I ever need to, or have questions, or want to just grab a beer with or something like that, or a cup of coffee. We can chat and kind of talk about what's going on. So what did I learn at Willamette? I mean, a multitude of things, right? The conversation of AI is a really interesting one because it's, what I kind of took away from what Professor Hoskins was talking about there was it's a really strong tool for folks to use if you know how to use it right? And it is going to disrupt a lot of these different sectors. But if we're using it in a mindful and a smart way, it can really leverage our careers in a way that's just going to, do boons for us. And so one of the main things I learned from Willamette is just one of the final professors I had, I think it was strategic management, just talking about the analogy of having a toolkit, right? All the different courses I took, I now have these tools in my tool chest that I can pull out when I need to. Decision matrices, different writing techniques, negotiation tactics. When I left my position at MAPS, you can see on the slide here that I hit a ceiling. The director level position that I was in line for was eliminated. And so I knew that that was kind of the writing on the wall. And so I went back and got my education. Then when it was eliminated, I was about I was in my last term at Willamette. I was able to get the role at Treasury that I now hold. They offered me over $10,000 what I was earning at MAPS, and then I negotiated an additional $10K before I accepted the role. And so negotiation is a really strong thing that I feel like I've learned through the MBA program, because having that confidence to have those conversations is something that I probably would have shied away from back before I'd gone through that process. The list goes on and on. One other thing I just share with folks is I had the opportunity to go through the study abroad program at Willamette, the MBA study abroad program, which was awesome. I shared that I have a background in international business, and the study abroad I did went to Germany. And so we got to tour a bunch of these really big German organizations. We went through like the German parliament when we were there. We went through Deutsche Bahn, all these really big organizations. It was fascinating to listen to high ups of those organizations share about their perspectives and how we all kind of, here over in Salem, Oregon, how we can work with one another all the way over in Berlin and Munich and that kind of thing. So there's endless opportunities. Why does this matter to all of you though? Why did you show up today and why are you listening to us speak? Frankly, if you're on the fence, it's just take the dive. It's totally worth it, right? You're gonna learn a breadth of knowledge that will truly make all the difference for you. I can't tell you that my MBA was the reason I got my position at Treasury, but I can tell you for a fact that it's what set me apart from any of the other candidates that were also applying. for the role. I've had the opportunity now, I work directly for the treasurer, so I'm on his core team, and my role is a unique one. It's brand new. I'm the first person to hold it. And I've had this ability now, we talk again about some of these disruptors in the business space. The interpersonal skills that I've learned through the MBA program and through my professional, my life too, that's invaluable, right? You know, AI can't go and shake hands with another person and be able to build those relationships in the same way that we do here, and that we'll learn through this program and the networking that we learn too. So truly, I would just say, if you're on the fence, go for it. It's totally worth it. So anyway, feel like I've rambled on long enough there. Happy to answer any questions. And again, thanks for being here this evening, everyone.
Thank you, Peter. So now I'm going to kind of open the floor a little bit for any of our panelists or for Professor Hoskins. So this is kind of everyone's chance who's here today to go ahead and ask any questions you may have for anyone. Does anybody, and I know sometimes not everybody wants to speak right away, and I can ask questions for everyone, but does anybody have any questions while you're here before I keep talking? No. No. So one of the things that I was picking up as I was listening to all of our panelists is, you know, the things that you're going to get out of these types of programs, whether it's early career or it's MBA for professionals, the networking, the negotiation, the communication, you know, all those soft skills that are going to still be really relevant. And then when you get into these programs, you're going to be able to, whether it's the professionals or the early career, you're going to have these elective choices. And our panelists also spoke about those. And Professor Hoskins also mentioned you can dive down the rabbit hole of your interest. And so for those of you that are, hey, data is really something I want to dive into, or it's marketing or finance or whatever it may be, we do have elective options for you. We do have choices. If you decided you want to take courses like Peter did, you're in Salem, you want to go to Portland, or you're in Portland, you want to come to Salem and expand your network, you have those options. So Willamette is each of the programs we have, that professionals program, which is more of an executive type program, versus the early career MBA program. You're going to have different options, and you're going to have different ways to network. And we're always trying to do these types of events. We also put on a panel series, and we had an AI talk that was really interesting in that discussion as well. So there's lots of chances to network, lots of chance to meet new people in either program. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed tonight's webinar. I don't want to cut anybody off, so we do have a few minutes here before I make some plugs about how to apply and all that good stuff. But does anybody have any other questions?
Some recruiter mentioned regional accreditation versus national accreditation, and that being important in an MBA. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think accreditation in general, when you know, the way I look at it is this: if you go to a law school, right, you want to make sure that that law program, you know, is bar accredited, right? And the same thing when you look at MBA programs, the AACSB is kind of that national accreditation that sets the standard. And so when you're looking at all the big wigs, you know, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Willamette, you got University of Washington, that's that AACSB accreditation, and not all schools have it. And I don't want to pick on schools that don't have it, but there's a reason that sets the bar. And so the standard, when you get into a program like this, all these skills that you've heard tonight, and all those soft skills that we heard, you're going to learn those, and you're going to be pushed, you know, to get better at those skills. And I actually went through the MBA for Professionals program, and we had students that transferred from universities that were more regionally accredited, some online programs, and they're the ones, you know, that would tell you it's night and day. It's night and day difference, the type of education you're going to receive, the format of the education. We're an in-person model, so you're going to have to come to class, you're going to have to present, you're going to have to defend, you're going to have to work in a group, all these things that you're going to have to do on the job, and you're going to be put in those situations in this program. And that AACSB accreditation is going to assure that you're getting these teaching modalities that you're paying for, right? That you're not going to walk away going, hey, I didn't learn, you know, I don't know what I learned in this program. And that's kind of what we were hearing from some of these people that transferred in. They were really, really disappointed because the expectation that they had versus, you know, what they were actually receiving was two different things. And so We don't get that from our alums. They don't leave Willamette going, man, I didn't learn anything, because you're going to be pushed. And that's one, one differentiator. And I don't know, Professor Hoskins, if you have anything to add to that, with any of the accreditation stuff.
No, I think the only thing I would say that's unique about us is that we hold NASPA and AACSB, so that distinguishes us, and that, we're both a business school and you get all the business concepts, but we also care about nonprofit, public service. So that leads to more opportunities, but you can do more, you can select your own path. But the other thing that I see in the classroom is, I think that while you can specialize in whatever matters to you, you get a broader general perspective from your colleagues than you would in other schools.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. That's actually, yeah, that's a very good answer. Thank you.
Any other questions that you guys have? No? All right, I'm going to share my screen one more time. And if you guys do have questions, don't worry, we can come back to them. 2 locations, like were mentioned, okay, by our panelists. So we're in Portland, we're in Salem. You can take classes in both. If you're an early career person in your first year, you're going to be taking predominantly all your classes in Salem. But you can build in your second year your elective courses. Some people will get jobs up in the Portland area and they'll take electives in the evening up at our Portland Center. So you can do that. And then on our part-time MBA for Professionals program, again, it's your choice. We actually have 2 students that are in the Portland cohort that are commuting down to Salem as well. So they're taking both Salem and Portland classes right now. So how to apply. So if you have not applied yet, or you're looking at starting your application, this QR code, you can obviously scan it this evening. We'll send this recording out. We'll send you more information about how to apply, but the application process will take you to our grad application portal. And in that portal, you're going to see all the different MBA programs that we have. So for people that want to apply to that part-time program, MBA for Professionals, it'll be there. Same with the early career change. We also have a JD MBA program. For those that are interested in going to law school and getting their MBA, we have an MBA and Master's in Data Science program. For international students that are interested in STEM, that is a STEM eligible program. You can apply directly to our combo program right there on this same QR code. So in all these programs, you're going to have to fill out a free online application. We require official transcripts. If you are applying to our MBA for Professionals program, the official GMAT or GRE score is not necessarily, it's required, but if you have 3 years working professional experience, oftentimes we will waive that requirement. For the early career program, that's not the case. So even if you had 10 years of experience, the only way that would get waived is if you actually had a PhD. Otherwise, it is mandatory to take that exam for our full-time program. However, there is no minimum score requirement. It really helps students gain more scholarship money. And that still holds true in the Professionals program. If you guys get a scholarship and you want to try to earn more, you can always take an entrance exam and try to score really well to see if you can earn more scholarship money. And then we interview all of our candidates. So we take a holistic approach. We don't just look at your scores and your GPA. We will interview you. We will talk about experiences, skill sets that you have, what your goals are. And through that interview process, we do not weed people out. We use it as a tool to get to know you, a chance for you to get to know us. And oftentimes you're going to interview with our senior associate dean. His name is Alex Subert. Your recruiters like myself or Marley or my other colleague, Nate Nagy, will talk to you about the program, will help you, will advise you. But then you'll get to meet our senior associate dean, and then we can put you in touch with any professors that you would like to converse with. So Professor Hoskins is here this evening. There's other professors that are willing to talk to students. So if you have questions, you want to meet with alums or current students, we're able to set those kind of appointments up as well. And so for students that are interested in applying, we would tell you that the application is open for both programs, and we would love for you guys to get that started. So with that, this is kind of the final chance to ask any questions that you guys may have for any of the panelists, or for the professor, or for myself or Marley. No? Okay. Well, we did really well tonight, everyone. We are at 7:29 right now. And did somebody have a question? No. 7:29, it's almost 7:30. So I told you guys we would all be out of here in an hour. Thank you for everybody. Samyukta, Paimon, Peter, thank you. Professor Hoskins, really appreciate it. For all of those that are here in person, thank you for showing up. This session was recorded, and we will make sure that we get this out to everybody as well. And all of the webinars that we've done, we've done recordings for. So if there's a webinar that you would like to see, we can send you that information as well. It's all on our YouTube channel. So again, thank you. And we hope everyone has a great night, and please come again. Thanks a lot.